While Titanfall 2 was an off-ness gem in 2016, suddenly longtime players are posting videos stomping on hordes of new players. That's right, new players. The game just had one of its best weeks in years, but why now, and what exactly have new players been missing all this time? This is why Titanfall 2's Resurgence is well deserved, and why, 5 years after the fact, people are just now discovering its brilliance. Despite being one of the best FPS series out there, the franchise of Titanfall has been perpetually f***ed, and royally. Titanfall developer Respawn was co-founded by Vince Impella and Jason West, who broke away from Activision after a dispute. You see, the pair co-founded Infinity Ward, who created, I don't know, one of the biggest gaming series of all time.
For those of you who've seen your first action, welcome to the big time.
Call of Duty, which, while successful, would hit meteoric new heights of popularity with Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. But when ownership, rights, and bonuses came into dispute, Impella and West broke away, forming a brand new company to be backed by EA, Respawn Entertainment. With a reputation for great games and funding secured, the brand new team revealed their first project to be released in 2014, Titanfall. However, this is when things went awry the first time. 2013 and 2014 marked the start of a brand new console war, one between the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Titanfall was locked in as an exclusive to the Xbox One and Windows via Origin, and would be one of the first Xbox One games releasing just a few months after the system itself. But as the console war pressed on, the PlayStation 4 proved to be the victor, and Titanfall was quickly forgotten. While Titanfall received massive praise and reviews and Best of awards, the game lacked any form of a traditional single player, leaving many potential customers uninterested. EA never released sales figures, and the initial buzz quickly died, with its 1 month later Xbox 360 release receiving relatively small press. But it was still a great game. Respawn had honed each mechanic to perfection. The smoothness and speed of wall running, the ability to learn and perfect speedy routes on maps, the relationship between pilots and their Titan. It's easy to forget that before Titanfall, mechs in many games were clunky, hard to control, and often had no escape. But in Titanfall, the cycle of farming grunts, killing pilots, calling in a Titan, and then ejecting to do it all over again, often without dying, had a sublime loop. Respawn even designed the Smart Pistol, which auto-targeted enemies so that older players could enjoy the game by focusing more on movement than aiming. Even the leveling system was different. To become a Gen 10 pilot, you were forced to learn to get good with a wide variety of weapons and Titans rather than just stick to your favorite loadout. And fortunately, a sequel was announced and set to release cross-platform in 2016. Titanfall 2 would feature a revamped multiplayer and include a more traditional single-player campaign, as opposed to the original game telling its story through story-focused multiplayer matches. But despite having an incredible property on their hands, EA decided to release its much-anticipated Battlefield on October 21, 2016, and Titanfall 2 the following week, October 28, 2016. Meanwhile, Activision's Call of Duty Infinite Warfare was set to release just 1 week after that, November 4, 2016. So, for whatever reason, Titanfall 2's release was sandwiched in between the newest entries of the two largest first-person shooter franchises around. So it's unsurprising the game got lost in the shuffle. To add insult to injury, Doom 2016 had also released just a few months prior the same year. So while Titanfall 2 featured not only an incredible multiplayer experience, over a year of free post-launch content, including new weapons, a Titan, maps and modes, and also a refined and fast-paced first-person shooter campaign, most media and praise was centered around Doom's return to the spotlight and its own incredible single player. Despite all of this, and a release window that worked against them, Respawn took the Titanfall universe back to the drawing board. They began work on a title that they had to convince EA to allow them to make, and one that would end up being one of EA's most successful shooters at the time, following the troubling launches of Battlefront 2 and Anthem. Apex Legends. Despite being a fantastic battle royale game set in the Titanfall universe, it wasn't the game that longtime Titanfall fans had hoped for. It didn't have wall running or even titans, and most definitely didn't tackle a pretty big cliffhanger around what happened to BT at the end of Titanfall 2. Upon Apex Legends release, Respawn revealed Titanfall 3 wasn't even in development, though followed up by saying a new Titanfall experience is being worked on. Even then, Titanfall fans kept playing and explaining to Apex players where the game had come from, and at least recently, it seems to have paid off. And finally, we come to 2020, where Titanfall 2 was released outside of Origin and to Steam. This definitely bolstered the player base, but this past weekend took the crown. From April 30th to May 3rd, Titanfall 2 was made free to play on Steam, and its numbers skyrocketed, hitting its highest ever concurrent player base. So now that there's a brand new swell of players hitting Titanfall 2, it turns out they've been missing one of the best shooters outside of Battlefield and Call of Duty. Its movement mechanics are absolutely astounding, and Apex Legends owes almost all of its design to it. Pilots in Titanfall can seamlessly parkour across environments, running along walls and double jumping. All of this feels incredibly intuitive and smooth, making the pilot the agile mouse in what's essentially a blown-up game of cat and mouse. The Titans form the cat in this analogy, with them being slower and more lumbering, but more devastatingly powerful. And as a pilot, you're allowed to act as both the cat and the mouse, as you can freely pilot a Titan or exit when situations get sticky. It's this well-crafted balancing act between the two elements and fantastic multiplayer map design that makes Titanfall 2 stand out amongst its competitors. The game took what was an award-winning multiplayer that not many had played from the original game and iterated on it further to hammer in on what made it fun and what could be added to further explore those concepts. Even the single player was incredibly well crafted, with a slew of unique mechanics and interesting areas regularly being presented to the player and immediately taken away once the mechanics started to grow stale. Take the 5th mission, Effect and Cause, which sees your protagonist jumping back and forth on the time stream. This mechanic was introduced in this mission, fleshed out in an organic and fun way, and then immediately dropped as soon as players complete the mission before the mechanic overstays its welcome. Another personal love of mine was the 4th mission, Into the Abyss, which involved ever-increasing platform challenges which test your skills as a pilot in a super creative way. The mission also featured you breaking into and out of dynamic testing facilities, varying the terrain, and allowing for Titan battles within the level. The fact that some of these facilities were constructed after you had platformed onto them was only the icing on the cake. All of this was made possible thanks to Respawn's design philosophy of action blocks. In designing Titanfall 2, the team focused on making everything shine through gameplay, so they would have designers, typically on their own, create exceedingly quick prototypes of different creative ways to play the game. If these didn't work, the idea was quickly scrapped. But if it worked, it was then iterated on. This allowed for them to eventually build out 45 different action blocks with unique types of gameplay. While not all made it directly into the game, the overall idea and tone would. So now that even more players have been introduced to Titanfall 2, the question of Titanfall 3 still lingers, and if it will ever happen. Last we heard, according to Vince Impella, due to the success of Apex Legends, the company's resources would be focused on supporting that, and Titanfall 3's plans would be pushed a little further. This was over a year ago, so we can only hope that Titanfall 2's recent rise in popularity means that we'll actually hear something a little more concrete about a 3rd installment. And speaking of which, here are some things we hope to see in a Titanfall 3. Well, we have a lot of ideas for what we want to see, but let us know in the comments if you'd like to see a video about that or what you'd want in the Titanfall 3. And if you enjoyed this video, we'd appreciate a like and subscribe to show us that you'd like more, and I'll see you guys next time.